but this is his personal car collection. So I thought I'd just do a little walkthrough so you can see some of the cars. I'll pick out some of the more interesting cars, I guess is the best way to put it. So these are in, I believe, in order of years. So this is a 1928 Roadster pickup, 29 Ford Model A two-door. Now this one's cool because this is a 32 three-window coupe. Now you don't see these like this. This one's still got all original metal. Total mileage is 44,000. I believe it has been restored, but you just don't see them like this back when they still had all the original sheet metal. This next one's cool. So this is a V8 32 that actually drag raced back in the day. But what's interesting about this one is it drag raced with a Chevy engine back in the late 1950s, but it was put back to stock when they did the restoration. So again, another original sheet metal car. You can see it hasn't been modified at all, but it was drag raced with a Chevy engine. I'm not a big hot rodder, but if I were to get a hot rod, this is the one I would want. This is a 32 Ford cab and it's got the V8. But what's really cool about this car is it's unrestored. So now it has been modified, obviously, but this one was modified in 1950 and it raced back in the day. So this one is as raced back in 1950 after it was modified. So if you're looking for like a really pure period piece that captures the hot rodding of the early 1950s using early 30s cars, specifically 32 Fords, this is the one you want. Totally unrestored, 286 cubic inches. So yeah, I would want one like this, unrestored back to how it raced in 1950. All right, almost got a Hemi engine in it. I picked out a few more here I thought were pretty cool. See if I can remember. 32 Ford cab here was a basket case. They restored it. Here's a 35 Ford. Now this one right here is cool. It's unrestored. Now, obviously, it's got some sort of aftermarket front end here on the grill, but this one is a 36 Ford Roadster, 72,000 original miles on it, unrestored. It mentions here on the sign that this one's actually used as a reference for folks that are restoring because it's so original and untouched. Original interior, which is amazing because it looks really, really nice. So if you want to get everything just right, this is the car you would reference. I wish the engine bay was open here, but it's not. I'm not sure what the geo is, exactly what that does. It looks like it restricts airflow, but an unrestored example. And then I like the inspection sticker there. Looks like it's from 1976. Now this car is a recreation, but it's a recreation of Don Garlits' first drag car. So his very first car apparently looked just like this, but it was totaled and wrecked. A 36 Ford Coupe. You can see there's actually a little wooden model down there. So Don ran with a bunch of Ford flatheads. All right, I'm going to move a little down the road here. 37 Ford half-ton pickup, 37 Ford Roadster, 37 Ford Coupe. There's a couple cars from the 60s coming up here as well. This is an original car. It's been repainted once, but 36,000 original miles. That's pretty cool. So I'm at the Don Garlits Museum. The other building is all his drag racing cars and memorabilia, automobilia, which is really cool. I'm just not much of a drag race guy. All right, 39. All right, let's go around here. So there's a couple unrestored Hemis here I'll get to in a second. So you know I'm from Cincinnati and the Crosleys. I think these are the ugliest cars ever built, but they're still kind of cool. I think it's a 26.5 horsepower. So you're definitely stretching when you have to do the half horsepowers in your spec sheet. We got some racing engines over here, which are pretty cool. one in particular. Yeah, I didn't read about this car here, but it must be a show car. That's pretty cool. All right, this one's kind of cool. This was a Smoky Unique Boss 429 engine that was used by AJ Foyt. That's pretty cool. All right, this is another cool car here. This is a car that was bought for Eisenhower by his wife. Now it's a Chrysler Imperial. There's quite a few Imperials here, and I know they were just called Imperials for a long time. They were their separate car model. All the signs here say Chrysler Imperial, which I know isn't correct for all of them, but this is pretty cool. So Mamie Eisenhower purchased this vehicle for Ike's birthday in 1956. So it's probably the most desirable four-door Chrysler Imperial in the world in a beautiful blue color. We've got a little Fiero here. It's not the real deal one. I mean, it is a real Fiero, but apparently Smoky Unique tried to make a high um, miles per gallon car, and he used a Fiero like this to do it. And this one has the engine he built, which got 52 miles a gallon back in the day. So this is a recreation of Smoky Unique's, but with the engine in the back, which looks weird because it must be out of it right now because that rear end is sitting way high up. You can hear Don talking here in the background. All right, I'm not going to go down here. I'm going to keep this abbreviated. Nice old fire truck here from Wildwood, Florida, which isn't far from here. So I'm in Ocala, Florida right now. I've got a fake Thunderbolt here, not a real one. All right, here's some interesting cars here. This Corvette, they basically bought it new and just stashed it here. So 50-year anniversary, I believe. 2003. This got 575 miles on it. This Carmen Ghia here is the one I'm really interested in, which is why it's the thumbnail for this episode. Is this only has like 27 miles on it. They bought it new and they just put it in here. And so what's cool about these original cars, especially ones that have never been touched, is you can see some of the factory imperfections. Typically, I would look at the door gaps and the hood gaps, but this is a German car, and I couldn't find any flaws, at least from this angle, on any of the door gaps. They look really, really good, but I can't go behind the cordoned off place here. So it's interesting color combo. I did find a few faults though, which are from the factory, which is what I think is interesting. There's some issues with the paint, but I think some of it's from storage, but I don't know if you can see this, but if you look right there in this, you probably can't see this. There's some imperfections in the paint, little dimples from the factory. And the biggest imperfection I can see is the rubber around this is really wonky on the top part. So even the Germans and their manufacturing in the 60s were not perfect. But it's really cool to see a car like this with only 27 miles. This is cool, a Ford limousine. There's no placard here to talk about it, but I don't think I've ever seen a 50s Ford limousine before. And then there's a Chrysler limousine back here. That's really cool. Now we got a row of Imperials here, but again, they call them Chrysler. Now this one says one of 900 produced in 1958, one of 15 remaining. I don't know how you verify that, but it's got a 392 cubic inch engine in it. And it's cool because it's got a brown convertible top, which is very cool. And I've always liked the rear brake lights on these. I wish I could get a better shot for you. Here's another Imperial 54. Now, this is one of my favorite cars here, this Hemi Cuda, because it's unrestored, and you can tell it's unrestored. Original paint, original everything. Um, what's cool though, and they don't even call it out in the placard here, is the roof is the optional alligator skin roof, which is fairly rare. I'm surprised they don't call that out. But if you look closely here, you can see all the stickers are there. Some of the paint marks are here. You can see up top here, very original. Very cool. It's a 70 426 Hemi, but there's the alligator roof, which is very rare. This is another cool car that's unrestored. 426 Hemi Coronet RT. Now this one's cool because it only has like 5,100 miles on it because it was used for drag racing from day one. And so incredible shape. You can see they have the painted on the side there. And again, unrestored, all the original. You want to look for certain things. I'll point a few of them out here. You can just kind of tell. Look at the original. That's the original paint marking from the factory. You can see the original stickers. Outside oil cooler, which is cool. You can see this sticker here. What's funny on these Mopars, the VIN tags only held in with two Phillips head screws. I always find that funny. But this one has all the original stuff you want to see. You can see the original paint marks from the factory there. Just a really, really cool car. This is one that will probably never be driven ever again, which is sad. But really, really cool car. You can see some of it back in the day, I guess. So cool. Now, this next car, I think, has been restored. Part of me said it hasn't because of some of the stuff I've seen, but then I don't see some paint spots in certain areas. So this was a 426 Hemi bought by the FBI, and it's obviously government white with 4 doors. So here's why I thought it was unrestored, because if you look here, you can see the spray over, which looks correct for an unrestored car. Typically, when you restore it, you miss that kind of stuff. But then when I look underneath the hood, it just looks too clean. I think at least the underside of the hood's been repainted. Anyways, cool car. Got a couple Corvairs here. In the back corner, this is cool. This is a Chrysler that was used for drag racing, and it's basically untouched. They basically, it's a 300B, basically took it from the drag strip and put it in here. It's dirty. It's got paint issues. Got the trophies on top. Still have the shoe polish in the window. Engine bay's dirty. You can see the, I think they call it the Batwing air filter up there on the dual carbs. All right, we're going to finish up here in a cool little thing. You can see in the center here, there's a bunch of engines encased in plexiglass. Looks like we have possibly a Corvair engine here. Here's a cool 66 Mustang, but it really annoys me when cars are done this way. So it states that it's a factory GT Mustang. And so the exterior clues for factory GT Mustang would be the fog lights, would be the GT emblem right there, and then Mustang and the rocker. But there should also be rocker stripes. So it's missing the rocker stripes, which isn't really a big deal. The one thing that is annoying is it should not have the three prongs there. That ornamentation was deleted on true GTs. And so the fact that it has it tells me that this is probably not a factory GT. They probably added the fog lights, dress it up, the GT badging, and the Mustang at the bottom. You can tell it takes a little bit of investigation. It has to be an A code engine or a K code. It's not an A K code because it would have a different emblem there. So I wish I could pop the hood. So I don't think it's a real GT, but it still is a really pretty car. All right, this Mustang's interesting because it's a 64 and a half. And this was given as a gift to Don when he won a race back in 1965. You can see there it says born April the 15th, which was a couple days ago, 1964. Mustangs were released on April the 17th. And so this is an early car. It looks orange, but it's probably poppy red. Poppy red is more of an orange color. And there's a lot of differences with the 64 and a half and a 65. 64 and a half had generators, 65s had alternators. But another couple little things you can see, this script right here is not as wide. It's about an inch smaller than they had in 66. Most of the other changes are in the engine bay and the interior. So I actually won this car. It was the award for winning top eliminator at the NHRA Nationals. That's a pretty good prize. Ranchero. So we've got some lead sleds here, which is pretty cool. This one in particular is the one that was on Happy Days, and the Fonz would drive it. Apparently, back then, it was purple with green flames when it was on Happy Days. I don't remember that particular episode, but these are beautiful, very cool cars. And I'm just going to end up at the end here. They have a recreation of Don Garlitz's uh, museum or his workshop. This car's cool. 42 Mercury Sport convertible. Pretty rare because production on cars ended in 42 to gear up for World War II. So seeing anything from 42 is pretty rare, which is pretty cool. All right, so they have his little workshop back here. And you can see we have a lot of engines here, which is pretty cool. So if you want to check this place out, like I said, there's a whole other big building with all of Don's drag racing cars, all sorts of crazy stuff. I'll post a few pictures on Instagram of some of the crazier engines. There's a turbine drag racer that he did a lot of the swamp rat cars, which is what he was known for. And then this is a recreation of his workshop. A lot of his original tools and such are back here. And it even recreated Don on the ground. Ironically, they put a do not touch in an interesting spot. I will not touch anything beyond this rope. And little cool collections of fun stuff. And they even have pesticide sprayers, Black Flag, and automotive parts, one armed bandits here, and even cameras and all sorts of stuff. Even a wizard, Unrestored Simplicity looks like 1904. So as always, thanks for watching. I'll talk to all of you on